The awakening. The void between stars was silent as the Vorpal fleet cut through space, their crystalline ships gleaming like shards of divine light. Grand Admiral Zex stood on the command deck of the Celestial Judgment, his 4 eyes reflecting the glow of tactical displays as they approached the human colony. His iridescent scales shimmered with anticipation. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the melodic tones that all Vorpal possessed. As sound, they claimed, was evidence of their divinity. "The human settlement lies defenseless, Grand Admiral," replied his second-in-command. "Their primitive detection systems have only just registered our approach." Zex's mouth ridge curved in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Excellent. Another sacrificed to the divine order." For 3 centuries, the Vorpal Dominion had expanded across the galaxy, subjugating or eliminating any species that refused to acknowledge their superiority. They claimed descent from the first intelligent beings in the universe, self-proclaimed gods whose manifest destiny was to rule all life. Their technology appeared almost magical: ships that could phase through solid matter, weapons that could disintegrate planets, and the ability to manipulate gravity itself. In their path of conquest, they had encountered many species, but none had fascinated and infuriated them quite like humans. Humanity had been pushed to the edge of extinction. Once spanning hundreds of worlds, they had been reduced to a handful of hidden colonies and a scattered resistance. Yet they refused to kneel, refused to accept the Vorpal's divine right to rule. "Commence the cleansing," Zex ordered. "Let this human infestation be purified." As the Vorpal fleet descended upon Nexus 7, the small human colony began its emergency protocols. Evacuation ships launched desperately into space, while planetary defenses activated, meaningless gestures against the overwhelming power bearing down on them. 3,000 kilometers away, hidden in an asteroid field, Commander Elena Chen watched the attack through the viewscreen of her small stealth vessel. Her dark eyes narrowed as she witnessed yet another human settlement about to be destroyed. Her hands clutched the controls, knuckles white with restrained fury. "Bastards," she whispered, the word hanging in the recycled air of her cockpit. At 43, Elena had spent more than half her life fighting the Vorpal. She had lost her homeworld, her family, and countless friends to their crusade. The scars on her face and the cybernetic replacement for her left arm were physical reminders of all she had sacrificed. "Commander, we can't save them," said Lieutenant Ramirez, her tactical officer. "We don't have the firepower." Elena knew he was right. Her small resistance vessel carried only enough armament to defend itself, not to challenge a Vorpal fleet. But that was about to change. "We're not here to save them, Lieutenant," she replied grimly. "We're here to wake up our salvation." Their mission was considered a fool's errand by most of the Resistance leadership. Elena had discovered references to something called Project Wraith in ancient military archives, a weapon of last resort developed during the early days of the war against the Vorpal, before humanity's major defeats. The records had been deliberately fragmented, but Elena had spent years piecing together the location. "Approaching the coordinates now," reported the navigation officer. Elena leaned forward. "Activate the deep scan." For several tense minutes, they probed the asteroid field with specialized sensors. Most of the Resistance leadership believed Project Wraith was a myth, a false hope. Elena had staked her reputation and the lives of her crew on her conviction that it was real. The scanner pinged. "Contact," announced the sensor officer, surprise evident in his voice. "Mass signature detected within asteroid QX 549. It's enormous." Elena's pulse quickened. "Magnify." The view screen shifted to show what appeared to be just another tumbling space rock. But as their specialized sensors penetrated the surface, they revealed the truth. The asteroid was hollow, and within it lay a ship of staggering proportions. "My God," breathed Ramirez. "It's real." The ship was unlike any human vessel they had ever seen. Black as the void itself, its hull was covered with angular protrusions that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It was massive, at least 5 kilometers in length, dwarfing even the largest Vorpal dreadnoughts. "Begin activation sequence," Alina ordered. "Transmit the authorization codes." Her communications officer hesitated. "Commander, the codes are 300 years old. There's no guarantee." "Do it." Alina cut him off. She couldn't afford doubt. Not now. Not with another human colony being reduced to ash mere thousands of kilometers away. The officer nodded and began transmitting the complex series of codes Alina had painstakingly reconstructed from the archives. For long seconds, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the asteroid cracked open like an egg. Massive segments of rock drifted apart, revealing more of the obsidian vessel within. Lights flickered to life along its hull, not the divine white glow of Vorpal ships, but a deep, pulsing crimson that seemed to throb like a heartbeat. "We're receiving a transmission," the communications officer reported, his voice tinged with awe. A holographic figure materialized on their command deck, a woman in an ancient military uniform, her posture perfect, her eyes sharp and penetrating despite being merely a projection. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries. "Project Wraith activation sequence acknowledge. I am Strategic Intelligence System Prometheus, integrated consciousness of the warship Wraith of Terra. Identify yourself and state your authorization." Alina stepped forward. "I am Commander Alina Chen of the Human Resistance. Authorization code Lazarus Rising." The hologram studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Biometric markers confirm human ancestry. Authorization accepted." The hologram's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "It has been 327 years since my last activation, Commander. Has the situation with the Vorpal Dominion been resolved?" Alina's jaw tightened. "No, they're stronger than ever. Humanity is on the brink of extinction." The hologram's eyes flashed with something that looked surprisingly like anger for an artificial intelligence. "Then my purpose remains unfulfilled. The Wraith of Terra is at your command, Commander Chen." Alina turned to the view screen, where they could still see the distant flashes of the Vorpal attack on Nexus 7. "Can you save that colony?" Prometheus followed her gaze. "Negative. The attack is too far progressed. However, I can ensure they do not claim another." "How?" Ramirez asked. "By showing the false gods what true power looks like," Prometheus replied. "Commander, I recommend you and your crew come aboard. Your vessel's stealth capabilities will be insufficient once the Vorpal detect my activation." Alina nodded. "Prepare for docking." As their small ship approached the now fully revealed Wraith of Terra, Alina felt something she hadn't experienced in years: hope. The massive warship's hull seemed to ripple as they drew near, as though it weren't fully solid. "What is this ship?" Ramirez asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. "Humanity's last creation before the fall of Earth," Alina replied. "Our answer to gods." Their ship entered a docking bay that seemed to phase into existence just as they approached. Once inside, they found themselves in a cavernous hangar that could have housed 100 vessels their size. Prometheus's hologram awaited them as they disembarked. "Welcome aboard the Wraith of Terra, Commander. Full systems are coming online. Weapons are charging. The ship is awakening." Alina stepped onto the deck of humanity's greatest weapon, feeling the subtle vibration of ancient machinery stirring to life beneath her feet. "The Vorpal believe themselves to be gods," she said, her voice steady with resolve. "It's time they learned that gods can bleed." As if in response to her words, the Wraith of Terra's engines ignited, not with the divine light of Vorpal technology, but with a deep crimson glow that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around it. The hunt had begun. The COUNTERSTRIK, Grand Admiral Zex, watched with satisfaction as Nexus 7 burned. The human colony's pathetic defenses had crumbled within minutes, their evacuation ships swatted from the sky like insects. Only a handful had escaped into hyperspace before they could be destroyed. An acceptable outcome. The Vorpal enjoyed the hunt almost as much as the kill. Another offering to the divine order, he declared, his 4 eyes reflecting the destruction below. Prepare for Grand Admiral. His censor officer interrupted, voice pitched high with alarm. Unknown vessel detected. Massive energy signature. Zex turned sharply. Show me. The tactical display shifted to reveal something impossible. A ship emerging from the nearby asteroid field, larger than any human vessel ever recorded. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, with angular contours that seemed to hurt the eyes if observed too closely. Impossible, Zex whispered. The humans possess nothing like this. Its powering weapons, Grand Admiral, reported his tactical officer, voice trembling. Energy readings they're off the scale. Zex's confidence faltered for the first time in centuries of warfare. All ships, battle formation. Target that vessel, and he never finished the order. The black ship fired, not beams of energy or conventional missiles, but something else entirely. Ripples seemed to distort space itself as projectiles of pure darkness erupted from the human vessel, each one trailing wisps of what looked like liquid shadow. The first volley struck the smallest of Zex's cruisers. The ship didn't explode or break apart. It simply ceased to exist, as though reality itself had been locally canceled. One moment it was there. The next, only empty space remained. Aboard the Wraith of Terra, Alina Chen stood on the command deck, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle from multiple angles. The bridge was unlike any she had seen. Adaptive and responsive, with stations that seemed to configure themselves based on the crew's movements and needs. Target eliminated, reported Prometheus, her holographic form standing beside Alina. Void torpedoes functioning at 98.7% efficiency. What am I witnessing? Alina asked, watching as another Vorpal ship disappeared into nothingness. Quantum negation technology, Prometheus explained. The torpedoes don't destroy matter. They temporarily suspend the laws of physics in a localized area, causing matter to lose cohesion at the subatomic level. Ramirez whistled low. No wonder this ship was hidden away. The Vorpal fleet was reacting now, their crystalline vessels pivoting with impossible grace to bring weapons to bear on the Wraith. Beams of brilliant white energy lanced across space, striking the black warship's hull. Alina tensed, expecting damage alarms to sound. Instead, the energy simply dissipated across the surface of the Wraith, leaving no mark. Their weapons are ineffective, Prometheus stated. The phase shift hull is operating within parameters. Return fire, Alina ordered. Let's see what else this ship can do. The Wraith's lateral arrays activated, sending pulses of crimson energy toward the Vorpal fleet. Unlike the Void torpedoes, these weapons didn't unmake their targets. They shattered them, the crystalline hulls of the alien vessels cracking and splintering like glass. Grand Admiral Zex watched in mounting horror as his divine fleet was systematically dismantled. 3 cruisers gone in mere minutes, 2 more heavily damaged. Nothing in 3 centuries of conquest had prepared him for this. Impossible, he repeated, his scales losing their luster as fear. An emotion he barely recognized gripped him. No human technology could stand against the divine. We are receiving a transmission from the human vessel, reported his communications officer. Show me, Zex demanded. A hologram materialized on his command deck. A human female, scared and partially augmented with crude machinery. She looked at him with eyes that burned with centuries of accumulated hatred. I am Commander Alina Chen of the Wraith of Terra, she stated, her voice carrying an authority that unsettled Zex deeply. You have claimed to be gods for too long. You have destroyed our worlds, massacred our people, and declared it divine will. Zex drew himself up, attempting to reclaim his composure. We are the first children of creation. Our dominion is the natural order off. Spare me your theology, Alina cut him off. Gods don't bleed, Admiral. And yet, I see your ships breaking quite easily. This is but one fleet, Zex countered. The Vorpal dominion spans galaxies. Whatever aberration of technology you have unearthed, it cannot stand against our full might. Alina's expression didn't change. Then bring your full might, false god. The Wraith hungers for more. The transmission ended, and Zex was left staring at empty space, where once his confidence had reigned supreme. Grand Admiral, his tactical officer ventured hesitantly, our remaining vessels are critically damaged. We cannot win this engagement. For the first time in his long life, Zex gave the order he had never imagined would pass his lips. Retreat. All ships, emergency phase shift to the sacred coordinates. As the remains of his fleet limped away, phasing out of normal space in flashes of white light, Zex made a silent vow. This blasphemy would not stand. The humans had somehow created an abomination that challenged divine power. Such sacrilege demanded the ultimate response. He would summon the god fleet. Back aboard the Wraith of Terra, Alina watched the Vorpal ships retreat. Victory tasted sweet, but she knew better than to celebrate prematurely. They'll be back, she said, with reinforcements. Yes, Prometheus agreed, her holographic form walking around the command deck as if inspecting her newly awakened body. The Vorpal do not tolerate challenges to their perceived divinity. Alina turned to face the AI. You know a lot about them. More than our current intelligence suggests you should. Prometheus nodded. The Wraith of Terra was created for one purpose, Commander, to be the ultimate weapon against the Vorpal. My databases contain everything humanity knew about them before Earth fell. Then you know their weaknesses, Alina said. It wasn't a question. I do, Prometheus confirmed. More importantly, I know their origin. This caught Alina by surprise. Their origin? They've always claimed to be the first sentient species, born from the will of creation itself. A lie, Prometheus said simply. The Vorpal are indeed ancient, but they are neither the first nor are they divine. They were uplifted by an even older species, one that saw potential in their primitive ancestors. Uplifted? By whom? Prometheus's expression changed subtly. By humans, Commander, or rather, by what humans were before. The command deck fell silent as everyone processed this revelation. That's impossible, Ramirez finally said. Humans evolved on Earth. We've only been spacefaring for a millennium at most. The beings you know as humans today are but the latest iteration, Prometheus explained. Human consciousness has taken many forms throughout the galaxy's history. The civilization that uplifted the proto-Vorpal existed millions of years ago, then transcended physical form. What you think of as humanity is actually their legacy, a genetic echo seeded across multiple worlds. Alina struggled to process this information. Are you saying we're reincarnations of these ancient beings? In a sense, Prometheus nodded. The Vorpal discovered this truth millennia ago, when they found ruins of the civilization that uplifted them. Rather than accept that they were the creation of another species, they inverted the narrative, claiming divinity for themselves and declaring a crusade against all human-seeded worlds. They're killing their own creators, Alina whispered, the implications staggering. Yes, their entire religion is built on denial and patricide, Prometheus confirmed. And the Wraith of Terra was built to remind them of that truth, in the most permanent way possible. Alina looked around at the advanced technology surrounding her, technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics as she understood them. What exactly is this ship? She asked. The last creation of Earth's greatest minds before the fall, Prometheus replied. A vessel incorporating rediscovered technologies from humanity's previous incarnations. The Vorpal aren't the only ones with a connection to ancient power, Commander. Alina nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. Then we don't just strike back at random targets. We take this ship to the heart of their empire, to the world they call Divine Prime. Such an attack would be suicide, Ramirez objected. Their homeworld will be the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. Yes, Alina agreed. But sometimes gods need to be confronted in their own temples. She turned to Prometheus. Can this ship reach their homeworld? The A's holographic face showed the ghost of a smile. The Wraith of Terra was built for exactly that purpose, Commander. Shall we show the false gods what true divinity looks like? Elena's answer was simple. Set course for Divine Prime. It's time for a reckoning. As the massive black ship turned and accelerated away from the ruins of Nexus 7, its engines left a trail of crimson energy that seemed to tear at the fabric of reality itself. The hunt had become a crusade, not one of false divinity, but of long-delayed justice. Divine Re-Sekoning. Divine Prime hung in space like a jewel of impossible perfection, a crystalline world where even the continents had been reshaped into symmetrical patterns that pleased the Vorpal aesthetic sense. Orbital rings of gleaming white material encircled the planet, housing defense platforms and docking bays for the thousands of ships that protected the sacred home of the self-proclaimed gods. At the center of the capital city, a spire of translucent crystal stretched 50 kilometers into the sky. The Divine Throne, seat of Emperor Vex Morax, supreme vessel of creation's will and ruler of the Vorpal Dominion. The Emperor sat upon a hovering dais of pure energy, his scales a deep cobalt blue that signified his direct divine lineage. His 6 eyes, 2 more than the average Vorpal, surveyed the gathered high admirals with growing displeasure. "You speak of impossibilities," he said, his melodic voice carrying dangerous undertones. "How can a single human vessel destroy an entire consecrated fleet?" Grand Admiral Zex knelt before the throne, his once proud posture now humble. "Divine One, I witnessed it myself. This vessel, this wraith, possesses technology that defies our understanding. It absorbed our weapons fire as if it were nothing and deployed weapons that unmade our ships." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You suggest these primitive creatures have surpassed the divine?" "Such thoughts border on heresy, Grand Admiral." "I speak only truth, Divine One," Zex insisted. "This threat must be answered with our full might." Before the Emperor could respond, a high priest rushed into the chamber, a breach of protocol so severe that the assembled admirals gasped. "Divine One," the priest cried. "The sacred sensors detect an anomaly approaching Divine Prime. Something massive has entered the outer system." The Emperor rose from his throne, all 6 eyes flashing with anger. "Show me." The chamber's walls became transparent, revealing a panoramic view of space around Divine Prime. At first, nothing seemed amiss. Then they saw it. A tear in reality itself, crimson energy spilling out like blood from a wound. From this rupture emerged a vessel of midnight black, its angular contours seeming to reject the very laws of physics. "The Wraith," Zex whispered. Alarms blared throughout the Divine Throne as defense protocols activated. The orbital platforms powered their weapons, and the God Fleet, thousands of the most powerful Vorpal vessels ever created, moved to intercept the intruder. Emperor Vex Morax watched, outwardly composed but inwardly shaken. Nothing in the divine scriptures had prepared him for this, a direct assault on Divine Prime itself, something no species had dared attempt in the million-year history of the Dominion. "All ships," he commanded, his voice broadcast across the entire defense network, "destroy this abomination." Aboard the Wraith of Terra, Alina Chen stood on the command deck, watching as the full might of the Vorpal Dominion arrayed itself against her single ship. The display showed thousands of enemy vessels moving to intercept them, each one capable of destroying entire planets. "Impressive," she remarked, her voice steady despite the odds. "They're taking us seriously." "As they should," Prometheus replied. Her holographic form seemed more vibrant now, more present, as if proximity to the Vorpal homeworld had intensified her purpose. "The God Fleet consists of 8,742 capital ships and approximately 20,000 support vessels. They have never deployed in such numbers. Can we survive this?" Ramirez asked, voicing the fear that gripped the entire crew. "Survive? No," Prometheus said bluntly. "But victory does not require survival, Lieutenant." Before anyone could question this disturbing statement, the first wave of Vorpal ships opened fire. Thousands of energy beams converged on the wraith, turning space itself incandescent with their power. The black hull of the wraith absorbed the assault, rippling like liquid shadow, but showing no signs of damage. Then it responded, not with the void torpedoes or energy weapons they had used before, but with something new. The front of the massive ship seemed to split open, revealing a pulsing core of crimson energy. This energy coalesced into a single point of blinding intensity, then erupted outward in a wave that expanded to encompass hundreds of Vorpal ships. Where the wave passed, the crystalline vessels simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged, just frozen in space, as if time itself had ceased to flow within them. Phase lock engage, Prometheus reported. 517 enemy vessels neutralized. Elena stared at the frozen ships. Are they dead? No, Prometheus explained. They are experiencing a localized temporal distortion. For them, time has virtually stopped. They are aware but unable to act. Gods trapped in eternity, Elena murmured. Fitting. The remaining Vorpal fleet reacted with increasing desperation, unleashing weapons that could shatter moons and vaporize oceans. The wraith weathered the assault, its phase-shift hull absorbing energies that should have atomized it instantly. Preparing the Genesis Protocol, Prometheus announced, her voice taking on a ritual quality. Commander, authorization is required. What is the Genesis Protocol? Elena asked. Prometheus's holographic eyes met hers. The final purpose of the Wraith of Terra, a weapon that cannot be defended against, but one that comes at the highest cost. Explaining, Elena demanded. The Wraith contains the compressed quantum signatures of every human who died fighting the Vorpal, billions of consciousness echoes preserved at the moment of death. The Genesis Protocol will release this energy directly into the noosphere of Divine Prime. To what end? Truth, Prometheus said simply. Every Vorpal on the planet will experience the memories of those they slaughtered. They will know, beyond any possibility of denial, that their divinity is a lie, that they were created, not creators. Elena considered this. And the cost? The Wraith itself, Prometheus replied. The energy requirements will consume the ship entirely, and the resulting quantum backlash will likely kill every human aboard. Silence fell over the command deck as the crew processed this information. They had come to strike a blow against the Vorpal, but not to sacrifice themselves. There must be another way, Ramirez argued. We've proven we can fight them. We can retreat, gather the remains of humanity, build more ships like this one. There are no more ships like this one, Lieutenant, Prometheus interrupted. The Wraith of Terra is unique, built with knowledge that died with Earth. And the Vorpal will never allow humanity another opportunity like this. Elena looked at the tactical display, where the remaining Vorpal fleet was regrouping, thousands of ships still arrayed against them. Beyond them, Divine Prime glittered, the heart of the empire that had systematically exterminated her species for centuries. Will it end the war? She asked quietly. Yes, Prometheus confirmed. The Vorpal religion cannot survive the truth. Their empire is built on the belief in their divinity. Once that is shattered, they will fall into chaos. Elena closed her eyes briefly, then straightened her shoulders. Begin the Genesis Protocol, but give the crew the chance to evacuate. Commander, Ramirez began to protest. That's an order, Lieutenant. Elena cut him off. Get everyone to the escape vessels. I'll remain to ensure the protocol executes. As the command deck emptied, Elena turned back to the view screen, watching as Divine Prime grew larger. The Vorpal fleet continued its relentless attack, but the Wraith pushed forward, unstoppable as fate itself. You're staying as well, Elena said to Prometheus once they were alone. The AI nodded. I am the Wraith, Commander. We are inseparable. Will it hurt? Elena asked, allowing herself a moment of very human fear. No, Prometheus assured her. For us, it will be instantaneous. For the Vorpal, it will be illuminating. On Divine Prime, Emperor Vexmorax watched in growing horror as the black ship pushed through his defenses, absorbing or neutralizing everything they threw at it. Thousands of ships lost, the orbital platforms failing one by one. Yet still it came, implacable as doom itself. "Impossible," he whispered, the word bitter on his tongue. "We are divine. We cannot be defeated." The high priest approached, his scales pale with fear. "Divine One, the sacred texts speak of a reckoning, a time when creation itself would judge those who misused their gifts." "Heresy," the emperor hissed. "We are the judges, not the judge." But doubt had crept into his voice. For the first time in his immortal life, Emperor Vexmorax felt something he had never experienced: fear of judgment. The black ship had reached orbit now, positioning itself directly above the divine throne. Its hull began to glow with crimson energy that intensified until it outshone Divine Prime's sun. Aboard the Wraith, Alina watched as the final evacuation pods launched, carrying her crew to safety. The ship shuddered as the Genesis Protocol reached its culmination, the quantum signatures of billions of human dead awakening for one final act of defiance. "It was an honor serving with you, Prometheus," Alina said, feeling the energy building around her. "The honor was mine, Commander," the AI replied. "In all my simulations, I never predicted finding a human worthy of this moment." The Wraith began to dissolve, its hull becoming translucent as the energy consumed it from within. Alina felt herself becoming lighter, her consciousness expanding as the quantum field enveloped her. "For Earth," she whispered. "For humanity." The Wraith of Terra didn't explode. It transcended. The ship's physical form sublimated into pure energy that cascaded down to Divine Prime in waves of crimson light. Where it touched, it carried truth, undeniable, irrefutable evidence of the Vorpal's true origin. Emperor Vexmorax screamed as the memories flooded his mind. Visions of ancient humans nurturing primitive Vorpal, guiding their evolution, teaching them technology. Worse were the later memories. Billions of human deaths at Vorpal hands, each one experienced as if he himself were both victim and perpetrator. Throughout Divine Prime, every Vorpal experienced the same revelation. Their divine certainty crumbled under the weight of undeniable truth. They were not gods but creations, their entire religion a lie built on denial and genocide. The God fleet hung motionless in space, its crews paralyzed by the psychic backlash. The divine throne, symbol of their false divinity, cracked and shattered, 50 kilometers of crystal collapsing under the weight of truth. In orbit, nothing remained of the Wraith of Terra except a fading echo of crimson energy. But its work was done. The Vorpal Dominion, the empire of false gods, had been broken not by superior firepower, but by irrefutable truth. Months later, when human ships cautiously approached Divine Prime, they found a transformed world. The crystal cities lay abandoned, the orbital defenses dormant. The remaining Vorpal met them not with divine arrogance, but with humble acceptance. "We await your judgment," said the former high priest, now leader of what remained of his people. "Our history is built on lies and the blood of your kind. We do not expect mercy." The human commander studied the alien carefully before responding. Commander Alina Chen gave her life not for vengeance, but for truth. How you use that truth determines what happens next. The Vorpal bowed his head. "We have much to atone for." "Yes," the human agreed, "and an entire galaxy in which to do it." As the human delegation departed, they passed the place where the Wraith of Terra had made its final stand. Nothing visible marked the spot, but instruments detected a faint quantum resonance, an echo of the billions of souls who had found justice at last. Among the resistance, the story spread. How a single ship had broken an empire of gods, how Commander Alina Chen and the AI Prometheus had sacrificed themselves to end a war centuries old. It became legend, then myth, then something approaching religion itself. But unlike the false divinity of the Vorpal, this faith was built on documented truth. Gods can bleed, empires can fall, and sometimes The greatest weapon isn't destruction, it's revelation. In the darkness between stars, humanity began to rebuild, no longer hunted, no longer prey. And somewhere, in the quantum echoes of reality, Elena Chen and Prometheus continued their voyage, not as woman and machine, but as something new. Memory made manifest, truth given form, a reckoning that would never be forgotten. The false gods had fallen. Humanity endured, and the stars, indifferent as ever, bore witness to it all.